Welcome back to the Chattable podcast, where I enrich vocabulary and speak English with pride. Have you ever been sitting in a busy office meeting, staring right at your manager, nodding your head in agreement?
Oh, definitely.
But internally, your brain is like 10,000 miles away on a quiet beach.
Yeah, we have all been there. Or maybe you have watched a friend lose their absolute mind, right? Turning red and pacing the room in a total panic, all because they temporarily misplaced their car keys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, we all experience those massive shifts in mental energy. So for this episode, our mission is to explore two highly common, incredibly visual English phrases that capture these extreme opposite mental states.
Right. We are looking at the hidden physical metaphors that native speakers use to describe those internal feelings. It is just fascinating to see how language takes an invisible abstract emotion and, turns it into a very real physical image that you can almost touch.
Yeah, it really is. We're talking about total mental disconnection on one side and then an absolute explosion of internal emotional pressure on the other.
And grasping these phrases does more than just boost your vocabulary. I mean, it actually gives you a window into how people physically process their own feelings.
So let's start on the side of total disconnection with our first phrase, which is zone out.
Zone out, yeah.
The basic definition here is completely losing focus on what is happening around you. You are daydreaming, you are exhausted, or you are just distracted by something entirely mindless.
Right. Physically, your body is still in the room, but mentally, you are completely gone.
Exactly. And the origin of the phrase gives us a really great way to visualize this.
It does. It comes from the physical concept of a zone. A zone is a specific separated area of physical space. Like you might see a sign for a construction zone or a school zone.
Right.
But in our daily language, we treat human attention like a shared physical room.
So if we're having a conversation right now, we are standing in the same mental zone. We are sharing that cognitive space, right?
Exactly.
We're making eye contact, processing each other's words, engaging.
But when you zone out, your mind literally leaves that shared area. It just drifts away. It travels to its own quiet, distant world.
Wow.
Yeah, you no longer hear the words being spoken to you. You no longer process the visual information right in front of you, even with your eyes wide open. You have physically vacated the premises of the conversation.
That is such a cool way to think about it.
Yeah.
And to understand how and why this happens, we have to look at how the brain manages its energy.
Yeah.
Because it isn't just a language quirk. It is an actual biological function.
Right.
When you zone out, your brain is actively protecting itself from boredom or from sensory overload.
Because the brain is a highly energy-hungry organ. If you are in a situation that isn't stimulating, or if you are just incredibly tired from a long day, the brain decides it needs to conserve power.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it pulls the plug on the external world, it drops its energy level and retreats inward to rest.
And we see this energy-saving mechanism all the time with teenagers and smartphones.
Oh, absolutely, constantly.
Our sources describe a really common scene, like a teenager has a few minutes of downtime waiting for a bus. So they pull out their phone and open TikTok or Instagram.
The screen glows, the background noise of the street just sort of fades away.
Exactly. And their thumb just automatically flicks up and down. Suddenly, they have completely left the shared room.
Because the scrolling is completely mindless. I mean, it doesn't require active problem solving. It doesn't require deep thought or emotional investment.
Right.
The app just acts as a vehicle, pulling their attention out of the shared zone and into a distant, low-energy mental space.
It is essentially a lazy retreat for the mind. And, I mean, adults do it constantly in the professional world, too.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Let's look at the example of Elena from the source notes. Imagine a long, incredibly dry afternoon at the office. Elena is sitting in a 2-hour business meeting under those bright fluorescent lights.
The worst.
Right. And the presenter is droning on and on. Now, Elena is physically sitting right there at the conference table. But her brain decides to conserve energy. She stares blankly at the wall behind the presenter, and she completely misses the entire discussion about the new budget.
Her brain recognized a low stimulation environment, dropped its energy level, and just checked out.
Yeah.
When someone is staring blankly into space and they don't even flinch or blink when you call their name loudly, they have successfully zoned out.
I want to push back on this definition for a second, though.
Okay.
Yeah, let's look at a totally different scenario. Suppose I'm working on a really complex puzzle at my kitchen table, or I am reading a dense, difficult book. I am intensely focused. I am so locked into solving this puzzle that I don't hear you walk into the room. I don't hear you call my name. My mind has definitely left the shared conversational zone. So in that moment, am I zoning out?
That is a really, really common point of confusion. We often assume that anytime we block out the outside world, we are zoning out. But you have to look at the intention and the effort involved.
Okay, so intention matters.
It completely changes the situation. If you are deeply focused on a complex puzzle, the answer is absolutely no. You are not zoning out.
Because doing a complex puzzle requires a massive amount of cognitive effort. Like, my brain isn't trying to conserve energy by being lazy. It is burning energy to solve a difficult problem.
Exactly. You are doing the exact opposite of zoning out. The phrase zone out specifically implies a mindless, empty lack of attention.
Okay, I see.
It's an intentional energy drop. If you use it to describe deep, mindful concentration, the metaphor breaks down entirely.
Let's consider Lucas, another example from our source notes. He is intensely studying for a difficult math exam. He has his headphones on, his pencil is scratching across the paper, and he isn't hearing the loud traffic outside his window.
Right.
He is working incredibly hard. So we would never say Lucas is zoning out.
Never. Or think about a medical professional. If a surgeon is performing a complex, delicate operation, they tune out the beeping machines and the noise of the hospital.
Right, they are fully locked in.
They focus entirely on a tiny physical area. They are highly present and intensely active in their specific task.
Yeah, if I am the patient on the operating table and someone tells me my surgeon is zoning out, I am gonna panic.
I would too. Calling a surgeon's intense focus zoning out would be deeply insulting. It implies they are standing there doing absolutely nothing.
Got it.
The key takeaway is that zoning out means empty, lazy inattention. It never applies to hard work or deep thinking.
So we have seen how the brain protects itself from boredom by pulling the plug, dropping its energy, and zoning out. It's a quiet retreat from the world.
Exactly.
But what happens when the brain does the exact opposite? What happens when it takes a tiny, minor frustration and artificially pumps way too much energy into it?
Oh, the whole internal system overheats. We move from the empty, disconnected mental space into a highly pressurized, explosive space.
Which brings us to the second phrase we are tackling for this episode. And that phrase is, get worked up.
Get worked up!
The definition here is becoming extremely upset, angry, stressed, or excited about a specific problem. And the defining characteristic is that you are reacting significantly more than the situation actually requires.
Right. Now, we talked about zoning out as leaving a physical room. Getting worked up uses a completely different physical metaphor.
It paints a vivid picture, doesn't it?
It really does. It paints the picture of physical energy and pressure rising dangerously high inside a closed container.
Like a pot of water placed on a stove, slowly coming to a violent boil.
Yes. Or imagine an old steam engine, a massive machine made of heavy, solid metal. Before that train can start moving down the tracks, it has to build up massive amounts of heat and pressure inside the boiler.
Right.
The steam gets hotter and tighter, the pressure pushes against the metal. Or consider the physical process of baking bread.
Oh, baking, yeah.
When you knead dough, you are pushing it, folding it, and working it harder and harder until the internal structure completely changes shape. You are working it up.
I love that. And from a psychological perspective, this is your body's old survival response misfiring.
Yeah.
Your brain encounters a small, modern problem, and it accidentally signals your body to prepare for a major physical battle. Your internal emotional pressure rises until you are literally, physically shaking with anger, anxiety, or frustration.
The physical body is mimicking the internal emotion. The internal steam is desperately trying to become external action.
We see this play out in professional sports all the time. Tennis players are a perfect example. They're out on the court, already full of adrenaline, running back and forth. They're full of physical energy.
Oh, yeah.
Then a line judge makes a single bad call against them, or the crowd gives a negative reaction. The player gets worked up instantly, they start screaming at the umpire, or they violently smash their racket into the ground.
Yeah. That is the sudden, explosive release of that internal steam. The pressure was building inside the container, and the bad call was just the release valve that let it all blow out.
And it happens in everyday life over incredibly trivial things, too. People scream at their steering wheels because they're stuck in bad traffic.
We have all done it.
Right. The traffic is annoying, sure,
Yeah.
but screaming isn't going to make the cars move any faster. The physical reaction is completely disproportionate to the actual threat.
Exactly. Or consider the feeling of getting highly stressed and pacing around your office just because you spotted a minor typo in an email you already sent.
Oh, that is the worst feeling.
But the massive stress response doesn't match the reality of this small mistake.
Yeah, the sources mentioned Julian, who couldn't find his car keys.
Yeah.
And I mean, misplacing your keys is universally frustrating. It happens to everyone.
It does.
But Julian didn't just look for them. He got incredibly worked up. He checked the same coat pocket 3 times. His face got red, and he paced back and forth across the living room, complaining loudly for 20 solid minutes.
He was working himself, like the dough we mentioned earlier. He just kept folding the frustration over and over, adding more pressure each time, until the minor inconvenience hijacked his entire morning.
The steam engine metaphor really does fit perfectly here.
It does.
The human reaction of getting worked up is just like a sealed container that gets shaken too much. You have this closed jar, you add a little bit of heat, like running late for work, and it is ready to pop its lid off over a minor issue. Julian's missing keys were just the spark that made the steam engine whistle.
It is an incredibly descriptive way to view human frustration. But there is a massive trap to watch out for here.
Oh, right.
Just like we had to be careful not to use zoning out for deep concentration, there are situations where you must absolutely avoid using the phrase getting worked up.
Right. There's a strong implied judgment in the phrase, because getting worked up strongly suggests the person's emotional reaction is a bit too dramatic for the size of the problem.
Exactly.
It implies an unnecessary overreaction.
It essentially means you are making a big deal out of a small thing. So you have to be really careful never to use this phrase when someone is going through genuine grief or a highly serious crisis.
Let's imagine a scenario involving real severe trauma. Say, Sophia loses her home in a major natural disaster.
Yeah.
Or a friend suffers the tragic loss of a family member. They're obviously going to have a massive, intense emotional reaction.
Of course.
They're going to cry. They're going to be distressed.
But if you look at Sophia, who is crying because she just lost her home, and you tell someone she is just getting worked up, it is incredibly disrespectful.
It sounds like you are telling her that losing her home is a small, trivial problem. You are completely invalidating what she is going through.
It minimizes a severe tragedy. It tells the grieving person that their deep pain is just unnecessary drama. They aren't overreacting. They are having a normal human response to a devastating event.
So we reserve getting worked up for lost car keys, bad traffic, minor disagreements with friends, and email typos. We never use it for genuine grief, trauma, or profound loss. The scale of the problem always has to match the phrase.
Well said. The words we choose carry a lot of weight. Grasping the physical metaphors behind them helps you navigate those boundaries safely.
Let's pull all of this together. We've explored 2 entirely different landscapes of the human mind today. We started with the empty, disconnected mental state of zoning out.
Right.
We learned how the brain protects itself from boredom by dropping its energy level and leaving the shared physical space. Like a teenager staring mindlessly at a glowing screen, completely deaf to the world around them.
And we clearly distinguish that lazy mental retreat from the intense burning energy of deep mindful concentration.
Then we look at the exact opposite extreme. We explore the overpressurized, explosive state of getting worked up.
The steam engine.
Yes, the brain misfiring its stress response over a minor frustration. It acts like an old steam engine building heat and pressure until the body shakes, like a tennis player smashing a racket over a single bad call.
Understanding the nuance of when not to use these phrases is just as important as knowing their definitions. Knowing the context is the ultimate key to speaking English clearly and kindly.
It really is. It saves you from accidentally insulting a hardworking surgeon by telling them they are just zoning out during an operation. And it stops you from deeply hurting a grieving friend by saying they're just getting worked up over a real tragedy.
Vocabulary gives you the tools, but context gives you the map.
I love that. And I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over long after this deep dive is finished. We have talked a lot about how we use physical metaphors to describe our invisible emotions. We talk about leaving a physical room when we zone out, or boiling like a sealed steam engine when we get worked up. So here is the question. Do the physical metaphors we use actually change the way our bodies physically experience those feelings in the moment? If we start picturing ourselves as a boiling, pressurized steam engine the next time we lose our car keys, do we actually make our physical bodies hotter and angrier? Think about that the next time you feel the steam starting to build.